and welcome to the first episode of the MaxYaks podcast. These should be about an hour to an hour and a half long, I hope, if I can fill these up that long. I'm not used to talking this much. I don't talk very much in my day-to-day life, I've realized. So this is going to be a little strange for me, but gotta push myself out of my comfort zone. So basically this podcast is going to be like a little time capsule for myself, so that in the future I can revisit these videos and listen to them and let's see how I'm different now, maybe reconnect with some different friends and things like that, which is pretty exciting. I've written a few things down to talk about, and it doesn't really seem like there's much to talk about. Not enough to fill an hour and a half or an hour or however long this is. One thing I wanted to talk about is my three personalities. Because I have three personalities that you're probably going to see, or I should say hear on this podcast. How I interact with people I'm not very familiar with, my close friends, and my dance friends. With my close friends, I'm a little more goofy and crap like that, maybe a little cuss out here and there. And with my dance friends, I'm a little more flamboyant but reserved because I really want them to like me. And the other one with the people I'm not very close with or comfortable speaking with, I'm just very reserved and not talking much, which is really not a good idea for a podcast, but I'll edit it to make it sound nice. Yeah, it's gonna be more of a interview style instead of I don't know what a normal podcast is like, but yeah, I have a lot of future ambitions in life because I was thinking about this. I basically have my entire life planned out for me for the next few years. As soon as I finish school, I want to take a year off and just work a lot, hopefully some manual labor so I don't get out of shape. I still want to dance my whole life with volia. This what I do, Ukrainian dance. It's my passion, same with theater. I'm going to try and do a lot of theater in that year off. And then afterwards, I'm going to go to Concordia just to start off small. I don't want to go into anything too big. No massive schools until later. And then I'm going to transfer over to UBC, which is the best school for psychology, which is what I want to do. I really want to do psychology because psychology, the mind interests me so much. The way that just little electric pulses can make you remember the happiest moment in your life and just change your mood so much with just a little shock or whatever. And I also want to help people, but I don't really like the blood aspect of doctors and things like that. So if I just become a mind doctor, I won't have to have that. There's the thing that I've been thinking about recently, which is going into psychiatry eventually. But that's a bit more of a moral dilemma for me because I am not sure if prescribing drugs is what I want to do to people. I want to help people, but I'm not sure if drugs will necessarily help with that, if it's the correct method, or if you should just train yourself or get other people to help you through your hard times rather than just relying on all these hormones that are not naturally supposed to be, that may be in imbalance but aren't naturally in your body. But there's also the art aspect, which I've talked about a little bit already, which is I love theater and I love to dance, which is weird for a teenage boy to enjoy doing, but it's my passion. And I'm very lucky to have found my passion very early in life, because so many people go through their entire life and not find it and just kind of feel this empty feeling. And I'm just extremely lucky to have found that so early, because I have zero free time. All my free time, well, quote unquote free time, goes into dance or theater. So in the summers I get really bored and confused on what I should do with my free time, because during the year I dance 6-7 days a week, and I'm just always on the go, which is actually really enjoyable for me, surprisingly. In the future, this is kind of like a dream that I don't think is attainable. I really would love to be on Broadway, but that's kind of an unreachable goal, because the theater route in careers does not pay very well unless you're the top 1% or point whatever percent in this, and that's just such a small chance, and I don't want to risk it, because I do want to have a family and I do want to have a stable life eventually. So that's really not an option for me. I do a lot of other art in my life. Like, I've picked up guitar mostly by myself. My mom forced me to do lessons like a few years ago with one of my friend's brothers, but I really hated it at that time, so it really didn't like further my skills in guitar, other than like slightly like knowing how to read a sheet music. So now I'm just trying to learn how to do bar chords, because with my sausage fingers it really doesn't go that well. Because like with these massive fingers of mine, the strings don't get pushed down very well, so it kind of just sounds like a dying cat, or just like a half-assed kind of musical note. I've also done a little bit of poetry, not much, or like creative writing. I really enjoy that. I don't know, I've understood that I have a way with words and putting my thoughts onto paper, rather than just sitting there and just like thinking about it. Like some nights I have an idea, and it comes to the point where I can't sleep unless I write this idea down in this little poem book I have. And sometimes that makes me write until 2 a.m, so that I'm extremely tired the next day, but it's worth it, because even though I don't read them ever again, well, I do, but it's cringy beyond belief. It's just a nice way to understand me, instead of just like brooding on the idea and just thinking about it for a while. It helps me to just get rid of those like extra emotions that aren't needed in my mind, that about like sadness or like things like that. I know, edgy teenager, wow. Like, for example, recently I've had this kind of stress about the fleetingness of youth, because I recently almost got into a car accident twice in the last week or so. Once I was driving with my friends. I was in the back seat, and they missed a stop sign which was hidden behind a tree, and we almost T-boned a guy, which is very terrifying to me. And another time I was on my bike, and I was at a light and I didn't see a car coming, so I just went past on this green light, and I almost got hit. And that really made me think about what I'm doing. Because, yeah, dance and theater is my passion. There comes to a point where I'm not really enjoying my life as a teenager should. Like, I rarely go to parties. Like, I hear about them and I'm like, nah, I'll just pass. And I rarely hang out with friends. Partially not my fault. I get canceled on a lot. But I just sat there and I thought about it for a bit. and I realized the future is scary. There comes to a point where I'm going to have to pay taxes. I'm going to have to do all these adult things, and I'm not going to have even time to hang out with friends anymore. My parents talk about it a lot, how they barely have time to hang out with friends, or all of their friends aren't real because they just have to hang out with them because they work with them, and those are the only people that they talk to because that's the only free time they have because they work so much. And that's just scary to me, honestly. Just terrifying to think that one day, like, high school will be a distant memory. High school won't be, oh, I have to go to school today. High school will be like, oh, I remember that good time that I had that one time. Or will it be a memory of, well, that was boring, you know? And I really want to enjoy my time because nobody lives forever. I know you hear this all the time. Nobody lives forever, yada, 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 but it's true. And you have to make the most of when you are alive because at any split second you could die. Like when I was in that car, when I was on my bike, snap of the finger, you don't get to say goodbye. You don't get to see your loved ones one last time. They don't get to see you one last time. You just die. And that's the end of your story. Well, that was a strange tangent to go on this early in. But, yeah. I did speak about my bike a little bit in that tangent. I don't have my driver's license yet. I'm 16. I know I should. But I'm getting it this summer because I'm recording this right at the beginning of summer. And I'm actually putting off studying for my math final right now. So, yeah. But, what was I going to say? Yeah, my bike has become my only method of transportation. Not my only method, but my preferred method of transportation from place to place because it's actually good for the environment and really good for, like, health-wise. Keeps the cardio going and basically that. But I also just, like, love it so much. My favorite thing is to go for a nice bike ride in the nighttime. Bike rides in the nighttime are the best thing ever. Like, with the sun gone, everything's dark. There's almost nobody on the road. It's just, like, so freeing because it's not too hot. It's not too cold. Well, basically, I'm specifying on summer bike rides at night. But there's nobody on the road, so you can just go wherever. You don't have to worry about somebody honking at you behind you. And you can just go bike down hills and just go so fast and feel the wind down your hair. It's like a slow convertible where you have to do the work. But it's just feels so freeing. Like when you go down a hill or something and you just, like, let go of the handlebars, you just feel like you're not a part of this planet anymore. It just feels like you've just, like, left. You're flying, and it's really enjoyable. And I'm gonna cringe at this later when I watch it again. I kind of don't really have specific topics to talk about. I kind of just wrote general things. So I'm kind of just trying to extend these things on because we're only at 15 minutes in, so gotta push this for so much longer. I'll probably have to stop it in halfway and look up something else to talk about or just record more of this tomorrow. I actually want to get this done as soon as possible because it's raining outside currently, and I love to walk in the rain. It's kind of like the same idea as the biking at nighttime. It's, like, not too cold, not too hot, nobody's outside, and it's just, like, nice to just, like, get wet. But also the one thing I don't like is getting shoes wet, so I often go barefooted, which makes me look like a homeless person or a hooligan, which is probably the dumbest word I've said so far, but that's whatever. But just like walking in the rain is very peaceful in some ways, because there's a monotonous pitter patter of like the rain on the ground, and you kind of just zone that out to a point, and there's often no other sound other than that. So you kind of just start thinking, and it's really nice because that's how you like understand yourself more and understand your ideas more. Like, for example, I've had a few revelations, which is basically I've narrowed it down, this one revelation down to whatever happens, which I also learned from a friend, but I really didn't put it into practice until I really understood what it meant. When you can't control something, what is the point of getting mad about it? Because if you just get mad about it, you're being mad for no reason. If you can change it, get mad at all you want, but like try and change it at least. But if it's all in the past already and you can't change it, why would you be mad about it? Or something. Oh, another one that my dad really introduced me to, but I didn't understand it until recently, was like having people better than you. I really apply this in dance and theater, where if somebody's better than me, I don't take it as they are better than me. I take it that as like a future goal. Like somebody can do like 18,000 turns, like Daniel Palladino, for example. I look at him and I don't get discouraged. I want to do that. So I start practicing and I use him as like a goal and as like an end goal, rather than just seeing him and being like, oh, I'll never be good as him, blah, 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 and just getting myself down and getting discouraged, which is, I think, not many people have that thought, which I'm kind of proud of. There's also the fact that my room is really noisy, just in general. Like, I have a really squeaky seat, and sometimes my computer has an aneurysm, and it just, the fan is just giving her. So I apologize in advance if that picks up on the microphone. Yeah, I'm really proud of actually completing this podcast, or like starting doing this podcast, because I often have major ideas and I often like plan it out so much, but then I just wuss out right at the last minute for no reason, and I don't go through with it, and then I regret not doing it later. But I've been trying to put these ideas into practice recently. Like, for example, there's this huge capture the flag. Well, not huge at this point. I don't have many people coming. At first, there was supposed to be like 36 people coming to this capture the flag thing that I was doing. But now at this point, there's only 50, and I'm still waiting for a few RSVPs. But yeah, me and my friend Alex Fayed, we had this idea in grade 7 or 8 about like this kind of capture the flag thing. It was supposed to be in the winter, but then we tried it in the winter and it was just much too cold. Where it was to kind of just like capture the flag with like snow forts, and you'd like throw snowballs and things like that. But now I'm doing it in the summer. It's actually coming up this Friday. It's Monday right now, I believe. I actually don't know. But yeah, it's gonna just be this huge capture the flag thing with just a bunch of people having a good time, and I hope I can get a few more people to come within the next 4 or 5 days, hopefully. And yeah, in this podcast, it all, like, putting my ideas into practice all started with this podcast because I thought about it and I thought I had a lot to say. It's kind of not coming through right now, but I just forced myself, and I bought microphones, and I bought these pop filters, and I bought Adobe After Effects for the editing the video for like the 2 seconds that it has the movement of text. And I just forced myself to push myself out of my comfort zone, and now I'm doing it. And I hope this turns out well. I don't really care if nobody sees it. I kind of just want this all for myself. That sounds super self-centered, but whatever. Oh yeah, I basically just finished the editing about 2 hours ago, and I had to take a mental break because it was so frustrating. I started it at like 1 last night. I got home at 12, and I just screwed around for a bit. So I started editing the video and trying to understand Adobe After Effects, and it took me 3.5 hours. I went from 1 till 2, and then I went to bed after that because I just got so tired to the point where nothing was gonna happen because I was just getting so frustrated. And then I woke up, I went downstairs, ate my breakfast, and I came back up, and for another 2.5 hours I worked on 10 seconds of video. 10 seconds. That includes the understanding and finally putting it into practice. I had to restart a few times because there was no fixing what I had done. But yeah, 3.5 hours of making 10 or 9.6 seconds of video. I had a scare that I thought I deleted all of my work, but then I found the undo button. I was beyond happy about that. I was just trying to extend the video to like an hour and a half or whatever, but I was trying to get more accurate with it, so I narrowed the video down to like 10 frames, so I could just get that 10 frames. I accidentally put it to 10 frames instead of 10 seconds, so it deleted all of my work except for those first 10 frames, and I was beyond sad and exhausted. But it all worked out. I found the undo button. And yeah, I'm just really excited to finally put things into practice for once. Off topic, but one thing that I really don't enjoy about the modern world is news. I know that like many of my political friends have watched a bunch of videos on how all the mainstream media is all biased and stuff like that. But I definitely agree with that notion. I feel like, especially like YouTube, that has blocked a lot of like right-wing kind of ideas. They've like stopped monetizing them, and they've monetized only like liberal kind of ideas, which kind of sucks. Because I definitely believe in free speech, and hopefully everybody else does. And same with like other news sources, like CNN have a very biased way of taking their sources rather than looking at the material that they get and looking at it from an unbiased standpoint, so everybody gets the whole picture rather than just this side of the picture or that side of the picture. And it comes to a point where there's a sort of monopoly of ideas where you can only get one type of idea at this point, or an extreme radical version of the other side of the spectrum, which kind of sucks in my opinion. So yeah, I really don't trust many news sources. I personally watch the Philip DeFranco show on YouTube, which is at times biased, but he points out that he's biased, so it's not like it's like underlying, but he does give both sides of the picture, which I really enjoy, which is nice. God, this is really hard. I have a very hard time formulating my thoughts and keeping up with my thoughts, which kind of sucks because I just lose my train of thought a lot, as you saw there, where I just sounded like a record scratching to a halt, or like a robot losing power in a cartoon or whatever. Like I personally have a bunch of different, not very mainstream ideas about a lot of things, like the North Korea situation right now with America, on how they are talking with them and being very kind to them, because the way that North Korea is acting shows that the sanctions and everything that's happening right now is working to make them struggle. Because like before, they wouldn't even open discussions with South Korea, and now now Kim Jong-un and the South Korean prime minister, president, or whoever is shaking hands with them. Like, what's the deal with that? We should have just kept them isolated, kept them in their small circle, and kept the sanctions on until we starved them. Well, not like economically starved them out of this isolation and isolation and threats, so that we could come more compliant, and we could send some people in there to like handle the situation, so there's not like starving citizens there while their leader is beyond fat. Yeah, it just kind of pisses me off, this whole ordeal. But hopefully it turns out for the best, because I hate to think of people unnecessarily dying. Speaking of death, I have a very old way of thinking in a way, because the way I want to die, very morbid, I know, but just thought of it on the spot, is I either want to die like protecting the ones I love, or like at war for some reason. I just have this like idealist picture of dying for your country and for what you believe, because I don't want to die a nobody, you know, because there's so many people who have died who've just gone without being known, you know, even if I'm just like recognized by a few people through like some certain niche of people. Like I discover a new thing about the brain or whatever, because yeah, if I die, the people around me will remember me for a bit, but that's like 1 or 2 generations at most, or like even 3, but that's pushing it. So I want to be remembered almost not indefinitely, but I want to be remembered for more than those 3 generations. I want to be remembered for more than just a guy who went through life, his cookie cutter life, made money and whatever. I want to be known for discovering something new, making a difference on this planet. Because I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I just don't want to be forgotten. It's a big fear of mine, because I definitely feel forgotten a lot, because throughout most of my life I've had friends, but not many until recently. Like high school was, or more grade 10 was where I actually started having a lot of friends. Like throughout, I haven't realized it. Like I didn't realize it when I was being bullied, but I have been bullied a lot through my life. Like in my Ukrainian Saturday school. I know, very sucky. I hated it with my whole heart and soul. But through Ukrainian Saturday school, I would get bullied because all of these people were fobs, or fresh off the boat, for those of you who don't know. And because I can't read well Ukrainian, and I still can't, we did this like one thing where we had this reading competition. This is just a specific memory I have, where one of the girls was like, she said, "Can I go with Max? Because I know I'm gonna win." It's not much, but it's enough to like hurt me, you know. And also, back in dance, right at the beginning, like I got excluded so much just because I was a guy, and the girls just got so tight, and they always like were just like a little clique, and they're always friends with each other, and I was just kind of pushed off to the side. There's one guy, Will, I'm not going to say his last name, just Will, he was super nice, but once they started excluding me, like the girls started excluding me, he didn't necessarily mean to, but he did, so which kind of sucked. I kind of felt a little backstabbed, a little hurt, but that kind of pushed through, because I'm very socially inept. I don't know how to talk to other people. I can push myself out of my comfort zone in like social situations where I'm like, haha, do this dumb thing and I'll like give you like a crisp high five or whatever. I'll like go up to somebody and say something stupid. But I don't know how to like hold a conversation with people. I don't know how to continue the conversation. I just repeated myself, but still. Yeah, I just really don't know how to interact with people. It kind of just gets to a point where there's just awkward silence. And I really like it when I meet somebody who is good at conversing, because then I feel like I'm having a conversation. And just, simple things make me happy like that. Yeah, like, it felt really good when I realized this year that a lot of people like me, which is, it just made me, like, extremely happy to know, because I have this fear, this innate fear in the back of my head that everybody secretly hates me, because I've heard so many people talking crap about somebody right behind their back, and then they go up to them to their face and they act like nothing's wrong. And that's just like a big fear that everybody's doing that to me, because I don't personally find myself likable. I don't understand how other people can find me likable, but I guess they do, which is a good thing. Another fear of mine is really weird. A lot of people are going to be like, oh, Max, that's really dumb, but I have this primal fear, this terror of coral. I have no idea why. Just coral terrifies me. Like, just the idea that it's, like, extremely sharp in a lot of circumstances, and it can just, like, rip up your stomach, which I've seen it happen. Like, somebody got their stomach super scratched up. Or, like, there's, like, a fish that could come out of there, like an eel. Like, I watched a video of somebody getting their finger bitten off by an eel who was just, like, there. They didn't even see it coming. It just came out of the blue. Literally. Haha, because it's an ocean. Get it? But yeah, it's just this fear of, like, something being in their element when you're not in your element. It's like, because, like, you can see, like, a shark coming at you from a long ways away, and you can punch it in the nose, which is how you get it off of you. But if you're swimming above coral, and then suddenly, like, an eel bites off your toe, like, you couldn't see that coming. It was in this deep crevice, and it just felt your electric waves that you make when you're just swimming, and it decided to attack. Like, you couldn't see the threat coming. It just kind of happened. Yeah, hopefully some of you understand, so I don't sound insanely crazy. Another thing I'm not a fan of with myself, which is what you heard there in that little tangent. My mind goes faster than my mouth can go, so I often trip over my own words, and I end up just, like, realizing that I just said something not even close to the English language, which is like, I often have to repeat myself because I just stumble over my words, which sucks. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of that topic. One thing I've also realized about myself when I was a child was that I had like this extreme imagination. It was, like, so weird. Like, I'd pretend like my house was this big castle, and I was the only guy left defending it, and if I let all these people pass that were attacking me, then the whole kingdom would fall, and it was all up to me to defend this castle. So I had my bow and arrow, and I had my musket, and I had my sword, and I just fight off all these bad guys, shoot them from the window, and just, like, fight them in doorways, bottleneck them. And yeah, I don't even know where I got that imagination from. I just, like, do these, like, epic fights with nobody there, and I'd have this one guy who just wouldn't die, and I wouldn't die, and we just, like, kept fighting for, like, 30 minutes, and then until, like, my mom would call me down for, like, supper or whatever. I was just, like, a weird kid in general. Like, I also did this thing where, like, another socially inept thing that I did was, like, I'd set up these, like, battle scenes with all my toys for when somebody would come over, and I'd be like, oh, wow, look at this. Whoa, this is cool. And they'd be like, what the hell? You just, like, take them out and we can just, like, play with them. Like, just remember this one time where like my entire living room was covered in just like these toys that were like either facing right or left. There's a few of them like in combat in the middle, and I don't know why. Okay, that's like another thing. So I believe in like past lives and things like that, and I definitely believe that I've been a soldier in several lives in my past, because I have this strange obsession with war and conflict, like the way I want to die, and like I have these so many games about like wars and things like that. And it's just like I have this weird like thing where it's just like so enjoyable. It's just like an enjoyable idea for me to go to war for some reason. I have no idea why. Like all these games that I love playing with war basis on them, like Hearts of Iron 4 and like Europa Universalis, or like my Napoleon Total War. Like I just derive like so much pleasure from like the way that somebody would fall if they got hit by like cavalry charge, or the way that somebody would fall if they got hit by a musket bullet. It's so strange. So I feel like I'd be more of a general. And like another thing, I get so like the only thing that makes me emotional is like soldiers coming home videos. Other than that, I'm stone cold. Like people are crying at like movies and things, and I'm just sitting there deadpan, and I honestly feel like a robot sometimes. But like as soon as that like one video where the soldiers coming home, I just like almost break out into tears every time, which is like really strange. Not like sobbing tears, but just like a tear rolling down my face. Yeah, it's just so strange the way my mind perceives conflict and war. And like my favorite movies are like World War II movies and just war movies in general. For example, like Saving Private Ryan, or what's the other one? Hacksaw Ridge. Oh, I love Hacksaw Ridge. That's a really good one, because it like explores like the moral dilemma of like household abuse and like not wanting to pick up a gun, which I think is really cool. It's like it incorporates my like two favorite things, the mind and war, which is the complete opposites, which is really strange for me. One thing that I know like a bunch of my political friends are gonna be up in arms about or mad at me about is that I really like the idea of socialism. It hasn't really been put into practice well, which everybody says who supports socialism. But like what Canada does now, I really enjoy, like the free healthcare. Like I don't mind having high taxes. I don't mind all that, as long as like I don't have to pay thousands of dollars, my entire life savings, because like I broke my toe. Like I looked it up, and in the States, like if you want to like fix a broken toe, it's like $3,000, which is like beyond comprehensible to me. And then like their health care is so expensive as well. Give me a minute, I'm fixing my mic. The stands on these mics are honestly terrible, but it's honestly a really good mic for its price, which I'm really happy about, because I do not work. I do not have a job. I don't have time for a job. I'm going to work for my uncle on his farm for a bit, but that plus like I work with my dad because he makes carvings, and recently he's been making like necklaces and things like that, and I like go to farmers markets with him, and like I get a portion of his like of what he makes, which is really nice. So it's like I work for my uncle for 1 week in the summer, and then like my birthday and Christmas, which are very close together, and that's like all the money I make over the entire year. But back to the socialism idea. Yeah, I just like I haven't really like thought about it like in depth, like the social aspects of like fashion and things like that, and how it would affect like the people who really like consumer goods if we lived in a socialist kind of state. Oh, there goes my computer having an aneurysm again. Sorry about the fan. But just like, yeah, I really think it's a very moral way to put it, because I hate the idea of poverty. But if you don't want to work, then you don't deserve to have anything. But I do believe in like rehab for those who go homeless because of addictions. So I feel like we should have more social programs for that in particular, because often people go and they just have addictions that they can't control. And I understand addictions because my dad smokes and he doesn't have much money. He's a dance teacher, so he doesn't have much funds to tap into, but he still smokes despite his lack of an overflowing bounty of cash. So I kind of just like really support rehab because of like personal experience. And honestly, that's what I found with people. Like they base a bunch of their ideas off of their personal experiences. Like with my experience in dance, where I definitely got discouraged by other people better than me, and then I developed the idea with an aid of my father about the people aren't better than you. That's just like a future goal of yours. Yeah, that's basically the entire thought. People base ideas off of their experiences, which is a very basic idea, but you can think about it a lot. I think about a lot of things, honestly, and I don't understand why. I just kind of do it a lot for no reason. Yeah, I really hope to have like a lot of friends on this podcast. I really hope to like learn a lot about other people on this podcast, because like it'd be nice, because like I had this one experience with my friend Seamus, who will be on this podcast, where it was late at night. We were just driving around. I forget where we came from or where we were going, or where we were going. There it goes again. Where he just like talked about his love for cars, and I really didn't understand like how much it meant to him until that moment. And I feel like these one-on-ones that I'm going to have with people will really help and expand my understanding of people, and specifically my friends, so I can get closer with them, which is I'm really excited about. I'm probably going to have to cut this podcast a lot because I'm just all over the place right now, honestly. 45 minutes in, and I am insane. Basically it. Still got another 15 minutes I have to fill up, or probably have to do like an hour and 10 minutes because I'm going to do a little cutting with this, because there's a lot of parts where I have to lean away and burp or whatever. I'm a very gross person, but I'm a very honest person. Like, if you have any questions about me, just like honestly just ask me straight up to my face and I'll tell you the honest answer. There's just like some people who I can't tell the truth about how I feel about them, because I honestly don't not like many people on this planet. There's only one person that I definitely hate, but I can't tell them just because of the situation that we're in. I'm not going to expand on that situation, because that'll give away who they are, and then if they watch this podcast, it'll go to crap. But once I graduate from high school and I don't have to deal with them every day, I'm going to tell them that I don't like them. And that's easy as that. And I try just and like everybody, and I've tried to like this person in particular a lot, and I've given them a lot of chances, but just something about them that I just find beyond annoying. And I always seem to delve into this topic whenever I talk to anybody. Because it's just like to the point where they just affect everybody around them. And so they always come up in either a positive or negative way. But yeah, I always end up talking about it, and I kind of find that annoying about myself, that I kind of just like default to that basic topic of I disliking them, because I love so many people and I really hope a lot of people like me back. But yeah, the thing that's going to be painful about this, I'm just thinking about it, like I just thought about it 2 seconds ago, is going to be editing this audio, because I'm really not a fan of my own voice. So that's going to be painful, having to listen to like an hour and a half of that and cut it and whatever. Probably longer than an hour and a half, because I'm going to have to listen to these sections over and over to see if they sound nice. So that's going to be fun. Yeah. Honestly, I found that I'm a very easy person to please. Like, honestly, if you just say hi to me and you don't regularly say hi to me, that honestly just like makes my day. And like, it's really hard for people to ruin my day because I'm a very positive person. Like, the only people that ruin my day are like family, which is kind of sucks to say, but it's true. The only people that really can make me mad are my family members, which like not even like my extended family, just like the family that I live with. Yeah. Hopefully none of them are listening to this. But yeah, I've never actually been mad in public. I've been frustrated around other people, but I've never been like mad, and I don't want to be ever, because I feel like that just like changed people's view of me. Because like, there's some people who I know that are always negative. There's some people who I know who are just like neutral in general, and there's people like me who are always positive. And if I got mad, I feel like people would be like, "What the hell? It's not him." Like recently, like one of my friends who I never thought I would hear anything remotely like this. They're just like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill myself," and I was like, "Holy moly!" And that kind of just like changed my view on them. Not drastically, but still, it changed my view of them just like slightly. And yeah, I'm honestly surprised nobody's barged in my room yet. My room is a disaster currently also. I'm putting that off by making this podcast too. I'm standing in a pile, well, sitting, I guess, in a pile of binders and clothing, because I like to wear clothing more than once. And I'm too lazy to fold it up or hang it back up on the hanger. So I just throw it on the floor. I'm like, oh, I'll wear it tomorrow or whatever. And it just ends up like getting hidden under like a blanket or other clothing. So I completely forget to wear it again until I finally clean my room, which hopefully a lot of other people understand. And also my desk is extremely messy because I don't know where to put a lot of these things, because my bookshelf is completely full, even though I rarely read books. Which I'm trying to do a lot more. I'm trying to order... Well, not trying to order. I'm going to order 4 books because they really interest me. Like, the book by Marco Polo. And there's also, like, a version of him... Not, like, an alternate reality, but there's, like, a guy who did what he did, like, explored the world in the medieval ages, which is, like... an extreme feat in that time with like all the diseases and things. But there's like one from the Middle East, and he was one of the first people to record anything about the Mali Empire and bring it to the modern world, which is really cool. And I also want to buy the 2 other books from the 5th Business series, because I want to know how the boy, that's who he's called, how boy dies. Well, we know how he dies, but like why, if he was guilt or if it was hypnotism. And yeah, I like, for me it's really hard to start reading, but once I get into it, once I like get past that beginning hump of like, oh, this is reading, this is boring, I just get so into it and I like eat it up so fast. But I also go through these points where it's like I read so much in this certain section of my life, like this certain time frame, like for a month, I'm just like eating up this book, but then I just forget about it, and then I just don't read it for a while, and then I have to repeat it because I don't remember what happened in the book, and it just like a downward spiral because it just keeps repeating and repeating. Yeah, but reading is so good for you, and it like prevents dementia. So, and I don't want to have dementia. Dementia sounds just like so painful. Like, that just came into my mind. Just like euthanasia, I definitely believe should be not, it's weird to say more accessible, but like there should be restrictions on euthanasia. You shouldn't just be able to like walk into a doctor's office and be like, yeah, could you just kill me legally? But like, if you're in extreme amount of pain and then doctors are like, oh yeah, they're definitely not in a mental place to like actually accept this, but you're just in so much pain that you just can't. You just don't want to deal with it and can't deal with it physically, but apparently you're not in a good mental state. I think that's definitely terrible, because I hate to think of the idea of somebody being tortured, but being tortured in your own body and not being able to do anything about it is even worse. There's also a very unpopular idea that I would not want to have children if I knew I was carrying if I knew I was a carrier of a mental illness, because I wouldn't even want to risk having a child with mental illness. Not because I don't like people with mental illness. Like, I've talked with a few of them. Like, I've been in a class with them. They're nice. They're very lovely people, but so many people make fun of them. Even though it's, like, not socially acceptable when you're, like, people are with their boys or whatever, they just, like, make fun of them. I hate to say them like they're, like, a different species, but, like, people with mental illness. Like, such as, like severe Down syndrome or things like that. Like, I wouldn't want to put my child through that much pain and suffering and to be just socially ostracized just for being born, you know? So I'm waiting till I'm 18, and then I'm getting checked to see if I am a carrier of any of these mental diseases. And if I am, I'm definitely only going to adopt children. Because, yeah, just, like, the terrible things people say, it just breaks my heart if I was in their position, because I know what it feels like to be socially ostracized. I'm not sure if I was ostracized. It wasn't, like, to that extent. But I was still just, like, not really accepted. And I just hate to put them through that. The child who my wife carried for 9 months and I plan on loving for my entire life. I'd hate for that life to be torture, you know? I'm not saying that anybody with any mental illness is, like, subhuman. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm just saying that I wouldn't want my child to be made fun of. Why did that sound so robotic there? I wouldn't want... Shut up, Max. Another, like, very unpopular opinion. I definitely believe in pro-life, but I do support pro-choice, just under the sole fact that if abortions were illegal, there'd be a lot more, like, shady stuff happen in the back alley with, like, abortions and things, with people who claim they're qualified but are not, which will end up in, like, so many more, like, damaged children, or, like, damaged adults even, like the mother being, like, physically scarred or harmed because of, like, an unsafe practice, which I know a lot of people will hate, but I do believe in pro-life, because, like, you can't just take away a life. You can be on, like, the pill or whatever and prevent it from happening, but once it's an embryo, like, that is life. Like, I just don't understand. Mic fell over, sorry. I just don't understand how somebody can willingly want to kill that child inside of them, even if you don't like children in general. Like, would you want to murder somebody? I just don't get it, personally. It's just a strange idea to me. But I just want, if somebody is going to do it, I want it to be done safely, at least. I just want the least amount of people to be harmed, because if you just physically scar a child within the womb, then, and it's still born, then that's worse than it just dying in general. So I don't know. Super unpopular opinion. I know I'll get a little flack from it, except from my political friends who will definitely support that. I see you out there, Garth. If you actually made it this far. Yeah. Okay, let's move away from this negative stuff. And one thing that a lot of people know about me, which is kind of just like a common thing that I really I find impressive about myself, is that I'm trilingual. And in North America, that's very impressive. If I went to Europe, then they'd laugh at me. They'd be like, oh, I know 10 languages or whatever. But here, when most people only know one, and like if you have two, that's pushing it. But like I have English, Ukrainian, and French, which is really cool. I also have a little bit of Spanish, because back at Old PH, the French school I went to, they forced us to take Spanish from grades like 5, 6, and 7, I believe. But like it's also like not that bad of a thing to learn so many languages, because I've actually had to use it, like all my languages, even my Spanish, because like with my baba, my grandma in Ukraine, she calls me every year for my birthday, and there was a point where I couldn't talk to her because I didn't understand what she was saying, which is really like kind of destroyed me on the inside, because I really want to know what she's saying, and I want to understand her and talk with her, because I have seen her like 2-3 times in my life, when she came and lived with us for a month in Canada, and like when I went to Ukraine twice, which kind of sucks. And I just really want to talk with her, because she is blood and I do love her. And also, I went to Colombia once with my dance group, because we travel almost every summer. Not this summer because not enough people can come, but what was it? Last summer was Croatia. 2 summers ago, we went to Colombia, and I met these people who were like super nice, and I like, with my basic knowledge of Spanish, I could formulate what they were saying if they just talked to me super basically, which is I find that really cool. And then I also, when I went to Croatia last summer, we were staying at this hotel place, and I just went for a walk outside at night because it was extremely warm there. And there's just a bunch of like teenagers from Bulgaria, I believe, who were at the same festival as us. And suddenly one of the boys, there's 2 boys and like 5 girls. Suddenly one of the boys just starts speaking French at me, like thinking like that I wouldn't know. And then I just go, this is perfect practice. So I just start conversing with these people. Think about this. It's so strange. I was conversing with people from Bulgaria in French when I was in Croatia. It's just like, just a mosh pit of different cultures and languages and whatever. But yeah, so then like I became friends with these people over like the few days that we were at this one festival, which is really cool. Which is, yeah. And also, if you speak the native language of a country when you go there, you get treated better. Like when I was a kid, when I went to Ukraine, one time, like, there was Turkish delights over, like, deli meats, and I was, like, pointing at something, and I accidentally knocked the Turkish delights over onto the deli meats, and then the guy at the counter started, like, yelling at me in Ukrainian because we were speaking English to our mom. But then she started yelling at Ukrainian at him, and then he just immediately shut up because she knew the language. And it's just like very interesting. Oh yeah, another thing that has been that's popped up in this, not conversation, in this dialogue, is I've traveled a lot. I'm very lucky to have traveled so much, because with my dance group, we travel for so cheap, and we basically get like flights paid for, and we get like meals paid for, some meals, not all meals, often just like lunch or something. And we generally just have to like pay for like one meal and like flights and whatever else we have to buy, which is so good. It's so cheap, and I'm like lucky because I'm dancing in a different country. I get to share what I love with people who I've never met before, who don't even speak the same language as me, and I can converse with somebody through a medium other than speaking, which is really cool. I can share what I love with people who don't even like speak the same language with me, which is really cool. Like I've been to like so many places, such as like I'm gonna list off all the places I've been. I've been to Canada. I've been to the States. I've been to Colombia. I've been to Croatia. I've been to Ukraine. I've been to the UK. And that's pretty much it. But like for my age, that's like so amazing that I've been able to travel that much. And it's actually really cool because when we travel, we don't go to like super touristy areas. We stay in like more local areas so we can see like what their life is like, rather than just like the super padded, like, oh yeah, everything's perfect here, which is, I find really, really cool. Like, oh yeah, I also went to Greece, because like when we went to Greece, like we stayed in a school and there's like a gypsy camp like right outside the school, which is super cool but also kind of scary. We almost got pickpocketed several times. And yeah, I don't know, just like very fortunate in my life to have traveled so much. I'm also very much a history buff, which kind of started when I went to Greece, because I had just read the Percy Jackson series. I know as soon as you read the Percy Jackson series, you know everything about ancient Greece. But then like I went to like the place where it was based off of, and it just like really just sparked my interest in all of this, especially like, I don't know what it's going for there. But yeah, I just like love history, and I love like learning about the past, which is weird because like I love social, like cause and effect. I love social, but like I'm terrible at at it, which is strange. Yeah, that's kind of just like super off topic. History to social class and how bad my marks are. I should probably keep speaking into the mic. I keep looking away because I'm shuffling cards. My hands get fidgety when I'm doing nothing. Oh, and like, freaking, I'm obsessed with dinosaurs. I've been obsessed with dinosaurs since I've been like 2 years old. Just like the idea of like massive lizards just like stomping across the earth, and like I get so excited whenever like new discoveries show up. Like I'm subscribed to this one YouTube channel that like goes in depth on like new scientific discoveries in paleontology as they happen, or paleontological discoveries. I hope that's right. As they happen, and it's so interesting. And they also go over like, they like debunk theories. There's like bones that wash up on shore, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, that is a Loch Ness monster. But then you just like look at it and it's like, oh, that's just the decomposing of a beluga whale. It's really cool. Just like, I don't know how much history can teach us about the present. Like so many, like we take so much stuff for granted that people have spent their entire lives doing, and like their entire lives like trying to do but not being able to complete it. And then we just take things for granted, like math, for example. Like it's an amazing feat what we've been able to do with math, and like how accurately we can calculate things. But that came after years and years and years of work. And I just find that super cool, that just like things, well, not super cool, but I think it kind of sucks that things that people spend so long on can just be taken so much for granted. It's kind of like the same thing in the modern, like with food. Even before we didn't have modern food techniques, we had to be nomads for the longest time. But even that's just like super distant past. But still, like some people don't have access to food, so like we take food for granted. There's like so many riots about food that nobody knows about because media doesn't cover that, because we'd feel bad about it. And then yeah, I don't know. Well, I think that is the end of the podcast. I'm surprised I could be able to talk for an hour straight, or an hour and 10 minutes straight. I'm very surprised with myself. I think this has been a very successful first episode. Well, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode.